Where are you right now?
So I'm living in Los Angeles now. I'm living in Hollywood, Los Angeles since 6 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And 6 years. So yeah, you've been there a while at this point. Do you feel like, because I lived in San Diego for about 6 years. I don't live there anymore. I'm in DC now, but I would say 6 years in San Diego, it was really only like the last couple years where I really felt like I really lived there, you know, like I was like a San Diego resident. Do you feel like an LA guy at this point?
I don't think I will feel this way in any part of the world because I'm always outside and always moving. So it's hard for me to feel like a real resident. Yeah. What I can tell you is like, I'm kind of become like tired of LA a little bit. So am I going to move soon? So
where would you go?
I think I will go to Miami.
Miami's good.
There's not that much of place in the world for DJs.
Well, somebody else was just telling me that Miami is starting to feel like LA used to feel for DJs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And LA is going down and Miami is going up. Yeah, for sure.
That's interesting, man. It's been a while since I've been to Miami. What's changed? Is it just more people moving there?
I mean, you know, during the COVID, everybody was looking for a place to be free and be able to party, and they all went to Miami and maybe realized the life was warmer.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in the 2000s for LA. I don't know what was about, but they at one point they discovered like LA was popping and all these young people. It was not only for actors. It was only for random people, and LA becomes like the place to be.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's around the same time I feel like so many of us Americans became aware of what was happening in France too. You know, it was like around the like late 2000s era, maybe even a little earlier, but like Bloghouse and Electro and, you know, Justice and Ed Banger and all that. And it was the same time because there was like a concentration of DJs in New York. And then everybody went to LA. And I feel like that's when all the European people started coming in as well, you know?
Mm-hmm. So it takes time for people to realize. But when they do, they move fast.
Yeah, that's true too. Dude, it's funny. It's really nice to talk to you. When I was researching and like I was listening to a bunch of your new music, a bunch of your old music in preparation for talking with you, I hadn't realized this connection, but I saw in a few different things that you referenced early days of Dombresky, and maybe when you really started breaking into the larger scene was a remix that you did for A-Track, for the track All Falls Down.
Yeah.
Was that like the first thing that really got out there?
It was not the first track I released. No, it was the same year. But the fun fact is like A-Track was and its label Fool's Gold. When I started producing, short long story, like I was a hip hop DJ before to be Dombresky. In 2015, I changed my name and I focused on the production side. Sorry, yeah, on the house music world. Even I was following it since a long time, but. So I start to produce and learn how to produce, and my goal was to sign my some music on Fool's Gold. And you know, I don't know if you heard about like manifesting stuff, stuff like that. And I remember I put like a picture of the logo of A-Track on my wall. And funny fact, the first EP I signed was on Fool's Gold.
Wow! So
I don't know. Yeah, this stuff works a lot. And then. I think the remix was after the EP, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
So I signed my first EP on Fool's Gold, and then I have the chance to remix.
Yeah, dude, it's funny. So one reason that stuck out to me personally is because I also have a remix on that same EP. And of the same song, and it's funny hearing you talk about it because I had a very similar thing early in my career where I was getting a release on Fool's Gold was really important to me, And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I followed A-Track and I knew Catch Dubs from since way back, but that was one of the first things for me too, where I was like, oh, maybe it is possible. It is funny. I listened back to those remixes. Yours holds up, and mine, I'm like, oh man, not so good.
You know what? I didn't hear it since a long time, but I'm sure there's a lot of mistakes. It was the very beginning of my production journey. So
but
I'm sure
it's interesting to hear you say that, even though, because like your first EP with Fool's Gold, was that what Overtime the song was on?
Yeah, correct.
So like I listened to Overtime again, and I always loved that song, and I've had it since forever. But even listening back now, I'm like, there's something in that song that I think even then I was like, oh, I recognize you in, like, you had a style and a perspective, and there's like a polished aspect to it that even for you saying, you know, it's early days and maybe there were mistakes. I don't know. Do you feel like there was some kind of, you had a sense of what you wanted to say musically, like early on in the project?
What I knew is what I liked. So I tried to make the music I like. So even the tastes are going here and there. At the end of the day, I love this melodic house, vocals, sample. I always love that. For me, it's important to keep your identity if you can. Sometimes it's okay to change it, but if I can keep on the same stuff that I support and I like, that's what I will do. And that's why maybe it sounds almost the same. I hope you're not saying it sounds the same, right? Because
no, not at all. But it's deeper than that. It's that I can tell, I listen to that and I listen to like your newest music, and I can sort of tell that the same person made it. You know what I mean? It's like there's a certain perspective. There's a sense of like seeing the music through your eyes, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's a good way to say it. Thank you so much.
No, yeah, absolutely, man. And it's, I think it's just rare. The reason I'm making a point of it is I think it's rare to dial into that early on in a career. I think it takes people often a long time to sort of figure out exactly what they want to say as an artist, exactly. Because obviously, you know, you mentioned you're into hip hop, and we'll get into sort of the background of all of it. But anybody doing this has many influences. To be successful, you have to have a certain amount of talent to where you could make a lot of different things. And I just find it interesting that it seemed like you were able to focus in on what you wanted to say early on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My vision for electronic music was this type of house. And, you know, I also have these French influences, always this funky, groovy, disco-ish things. So yeah, that's what I try to do. And I didn't really change, but I try to make it better. But yeah, that's my vision for my music.
Hey, man. Well, and even that, there's probably been points in your career where either somebody suggested to you to switch things up, or maybe internally you're questioning, oh, is this the right path? Should I stick with this? Should I change things? And being able to have that sense of self and to stick with the original idea, like what got you excited in the first place, what you wanted to say, that's also something that I think some people struggle with. So I think it's worth pointing out that, yeah, it's cool that you've been able to maintain like the original vision. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's also more complicated now. I think I feel like since this last year, the music industry is moving so fast now. It's hard to stay in your lane, but I think it's cool if you can at least like make the people remind them that that's you, and then they can say, "Oh, that's the new Dombresky. It sounds like Dombresky. I love that. I love that." But it doesn't mean you cannot also try different things. That's very okay to try like something else. But if you can add some from your own personality into these songs, I think that's the goal for me.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it makes me want to ask, and we'll get back to these ideas in a second, but just because you brought it up, like the Disco Dom alias that you have, what was the Like, just talk about that, because that's somewhat of a newer alias, right? Like within the last few years.
It is very new. I can tell you what happened exactly.
Please.
Because it's a very simple story. I did EDC Las Vegas in 2021, and I had like 5 sets. So I was like, okay, I did main stage, I did another smaller stage, stereo room, I did the car one. And I was like, I was with a lot of friends. I was like, damn, I already play 4 sets. Even if I try to do like different sets, I was like, come on. Like, and my last set was at the camp stage,
right,
in Vegas. All the people, they sleep there and stuff. So it was in like a pool party. And the day before, I was like, oh, I don't know where it come from. I was like, oh, because I like disco, but I'm not like a disco fanatic.
right.
You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, let's try to do a disco, something like different, disco. And we submit the idea to the promoters, and they're like, oh yeah, let's do it. There are no problem with that. And I have a friend. She just arrived the same day, and she brought me the hat that I have with the disco.
Right.
Shout out to Stella. And I did the set. It was so fire. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And people loved it because it was something different. It was like, and during the EDC weekend, it was like kind of refreshing to hear like a different type of music. And then after that, there is a little period, amount of time when we thought about it. I was like, damn, there is something cool to do. And we were like, oh, let's organize invite only a show in LA. We did that. Same. So many people just on reservation. It was amazing. Then after the show, I live streamed the set. That's the set that was on YouTube. And after the show, I like, oh, there is something cool to do with that. Yeah, I did the Fool's Gold party with A-Track in Miami last year. I was like, okay, now it's time to go. And then with my team, we thought about it. It was like, oh, you know what? Let's release some music. Let's do some music. And let's organize a small tour. And in 2023, during the spring, we organized we did like LA, New York, Miami, and San Francisco. And I sold out the show in one day. It was not like huge club, but it was a good amount of people, and people were so stuck. They loved the idea. So, are getting dressed. It's a different vibe. It's a different mood. People are dancing differently. Yeah. People are smiling differently. And it's so refreshing as a DJ, as a house DJ, when you have the chance to try something else. And it's a show. It's a full show. It's not just me DJs. There is dancers. We decorate the clubs. And all these little details make the party very exciting for me.
Yeah. All of that makes total sense to me. And this might sound kind of silly, but I mean it in a serious way. I think there's something to the theatricality of what you're talking about that really, like for you, say you put on the crazy hat and you show up and there's, dancers like all dressed up. Doesn't that make it, don't you feel different as a performer? You know what I mean?
I totally do. And it's, but to be honest with you, even as Dombresky, if I can talk like that, but as soon as I step on stage, my brain switch and I becomes like I'm in a showman mood, and disco is just like more sexy. It's like just like more like extravaganza. It's just like more freedom, I would say. I just let it go. I dance differently, and when I play disco, I'm like I saw some move like I never did in my life. It's just and I love that. I love that feelings to be able to go into an alias like that and do something else. That's
I love that too. And I guess the reason why I'm making a point of it is that I think there's ways to do things properly and ways to do things in a corny way. And even something as simple as dressing up, adding some theater, even that, there's such incredible traditions of actual theater and like burlesque performance and all that I think very few people are using in our little sphere, as opposed to say sort of like the corny, just like DJ with a mask trope that you see a lot. That's very surface level. But I just thought it was cool that you're sort of doing it that way and leaning into it, because I think it's an experience that maybe your average dance music fan just hasn't had yet. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And why I'm getting dressed too. It's because I wanted to brand this event like as very differently, and also to push people to get dressed too.
Right.
Because when I go on these shows and I see people dressed like at the disco with the disco ball everywhere, they all I have some I give like some free disco ball chain and stuff. Like, this is just funny. It's just good time, and people loves to experiment. Like, yeah, even getting dressed is cool. And I saw like girls getting like from the 70s outfit. It's just cool to see. It's something cool to see.
It absolutely is, man. And it's this actually leads into something else I wanted to ask you. So I've had Chami on here. I've had Pedro from Ed Banger on here, a bunch of incredible French musicians. And I have to, now that I have you here, who I would also include in that group, that I am always trying to figure out what it is about French culture and the musicians that it produces that allows all of you to sort of make music and use references, and even something like we're talking about dressing up in a way, encouraging other people to dress up. All of these references, there's a certain amount of class and like a certain amount of honoring the history of it. And I've never been able to pin down exactly what it is, but I do think there's something unique to French culture that produces this really high level of artistry in its musicians. And I don't know if this connects with you. I don't know if this is something you have any theories about, but I gotta ask just because I'm curious.
Because you're not the first person to ask me this, and I have always the same answer. It's still a mystery, but am I gonna have an idea why? And tell me if I'm crazy or not. But I think it's also the fact like we're in the middle of Europe, you know what I mean? So it means we get influence from England, we get influence from Africa, and we get influence from America. And maybe where we are like smart with, we are smart to take information, remix it with our own taste, and try to deliver it something different from those influences. And that's my own explanation.
Yeah, that sounds right to me, man. And I think maybe the thing I'd tack onto it, and you can tell me if you agree or not, is I think there's also there's like a respect for history and culture in France. So like you're getting all of these different influences and sounds and cultures. But to me, the French people, there's like a respect. They honor those things, as opposed to, say, in America, where as an American, it's like, we're happy to take in all these different cultures. But I feel like the level of respect is so much lower, you know what I mean? And what we spit back out, what we remix that comes back out, often to me feels a lot cheaper, a lot more surface level. You know what I mean?
I don't have a clear answer to that, but there's the cultural influence too. Like France is an old country, America is not that old, and maybe the way they take information is to release it faster. And maybe in France, no,
that's a good point too.
But that's true. Like, and I saw that by my own eyes with like just the artists you mentioned too, like Justice, Daft Punk, all these guys, Bob Sinclair, all these people. They always have like a persona around and like a concept around. That's something we like too. Something maybe we like that too.
Yeah. Taking your time to really working through the idea. I mean, because you're right, Daft Punk, like taking long breaks, hanging it up when they could have, done a world tour and made billions of dollars. And now you see everyone's excitement that like Justice is coming back right now. And they've been gone for a long time and they're coming back, like, I don't know if you've seen that music video they released, but it's like such a clear vision and such a like link to what they've done, but it feels fresh. And
now you mentioned this, like there is maybe in France we love the relation with the image and the music, mixing the image and the music. It's like the same balance.
Yeah.
And image is a big importance for us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe we think we are not enough as an artist and we need to push up the image. I have no idea.
Hey, man, it's possible. I mean, I think we've all felt that at some point or another, for sure. And that actually connects to the other point I wanted to ask you about off of that topic is for you, I mean, I'm sure you're busy in general, right? Like you were mentioning, you don't have a lot of time at home. You're on the road all the time. You're now juggling a couple different projects, many ideas. It's, you're doing a lot of stuff right now. And I wanted to ask you, as someone who does lean into the way it looks and embodying a spirit or a character, that kind of thing, though, even down to something as simple as like what people see of you on social media, like as your career has gotten bigger and wilder and busier and all of that sort of thing, what's your relationship to like you as a person? Like, how do you balance like the you that is a person that is just you living your life as a human versus, the character, the aspect of yourself that is you as a DJ versus something even then, more exaggerated like the Disco Dom project? Like, does it become harder or easier to balance, I guess, as, everything gets bigger?
That's a good question. And so for me, it's like, I know what I'm doing. I know what is my job. I'm happy. My business is going well, but maybe it's going to sound weird. I will treat everybody the same way. You know what I mean? I respect everybody. I'm nice with everybody. And this superstar status was never been my goal. I want to be a respected artist. That's my goal. I want to do like good stuff. That's my goal. So I would say I'm almost the same guy as a DJ in my personal life because I treat everybody the same way. And if it works, it's great. But I'm not going to lose my mind. I'm not going to lose my mind into this stuff because I know what I'm doing. I'm a DJ producer, but that's okay. It's not like I didn't like save lives. I mean, in the war. So it's I take it. My relationship with a famous side is very, very healthy and very clear. I'm a musician. I'm cool, and I have to be nice with everybody, and that's how I progress in my life. So I'm the same.
Yeah, I mean that's
this program is different. This program is like it's different stuff. But
yeah. Well, and that's a really healthy attitude to have. Is it as things have gotten bigger and as more success comes in? Though I have to imagine you've noticed at various points other people treating you different, even if you're not acting different. But I have to,
I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, we are DJs and producers. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe. Also, I have some. I'm not 20 years old anymore, unfortunately. But
you and me both, buddy.
But maybe you can have some trouble when you become famous at 20 years old and you see all these people in front of you and stuff. But for me, it's very healthy. I make people happy on the dance floor, and that's cool, and that's fine for me, and that's what I want. And I never had any problem with that. And I think being cool with people, I hope that's my only hope is like, I hope people see that I'm cool because that's who I am. And sometimes when I have interaction with some fans or some supporters, I would call them, I hope they feel that they looks like they know I'm okay, I'm cool, because they're always cool with me.
Right.
And that's something I try to build with my brand. And the way they talk to me, the way they interact with me, most of the time is very nice, cool, like conversation or interaction. And that's something I care about. Yeah. Being cool and being nice with people, and they send you back this. If you treat yourself as a superstar and like the guy, I don't know, you're gonna receive like some superstar feedback.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and that's a really good point too, that, even if people, outside people treat you in an odd way or act as if you're something that you don't think you are or don't feel, usually if you just act normal, you can kind of get them down to the normal level pretty fast. Yeah, that's true.
That's what is interesting. And that's interesting, like to interact with people in a normal way. Yeah. That's what I like.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, this is the last thing I'll say about it, but I'm sure you've seen, as I have too, is that people get lost in the sauce sometimes, and sometimes you see people who are kind of on some trip or on some fame thing, but it is funny that, as long as you ground it in humanity, there's kind of nowhere to go from there. Where it's like I don't know, it's like just being appreciative of everything, like living in gratitude, which is kind of like a woo-woo idea. But I think as long as you can kind of everything that happens, good, bad, whatever, if you're just like, okay, great, this is cool, I'm getting to do something fun and interesting, and just keep it at that level. It's weird, but it's kind of like a secret key to success, I think.
Maybe you're right. I don't know. From what I know, and it's easy to lose your mind in this industry. It happens. So some friend of mine getting down. It's sad. Yeah, because like I said, sometimes I'm not David Guetta, and I'm very pragmatic, and I like that, because also being like number one is a lot of pressure, and that's when you lose it. You don't have to be like number one to be happy.
Well, and this is usually I ask this towards the end, but I want to ask it in the middle here just because we're kind of on the topic. For you, like you right now in 2024, what's the most fun part of what you do? What are you the most excited to do in all of the different aspects of your career right now?
In terms of parties, most of the time it's the same. You can be surprised if you go to a different country. That's the thing. But for me now is to share time with people I love. And that's pretty it. It's like, because my life is not, people see your life on stage and it looks like amazing and you're like, but this is 2 hours in a week. Like it's 4 hours. And I mean, the rest of the time I work all day with my management team. I work all day with my tour manager, with some people I love to work with on the music side, with like producers and stuff. It's one of the big part of my life too. So the most important now is to spend some time with people I appreciate and respect and love, and appreciate also, just appreciate my life.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, man. I mean, you've got a good.
I don't know if that was the question. Or
no, that was basically. I mean, the question was like, what's the most fun part of what you do? But I think what you're saying is like, it's the people that are the fun part.
Yeah, the most fun is like meeting like new people that I like, and spend some time with great people.
Yeah,
and traveling for sure. I love traveling.
Yeah, no, that's perfect, man. I mean, I think you have a very good head on your shoulders for this kind of work. And it's funny because like earlier you said that your goal was always just to make people have fun on the dance floor. And that was kind of like, that was the goal. And you've stuck to that idea and it's worked out really well. So with that in mind, like who was the young Dombresky, even before Dombresky as a concept existed? Like as a kid, was music always the thing for you? Like when did you get like crazy about music?
Music was always a part of my life, and I realized now that music was always there. Like I before to be a DJ, I was a drummer. Okay, I did drums for 10 years. But when I think about it, it was not like for fun. I was like focused 200%. It was every day. I went to school for drums. It was my stuff. And one day I stopped drums. I was tired, and I discovered DJ like a few months after for the first time.
What age about?
So I did drums from 8 to 18.
Yeah.
To 16, something like that. And then I can tell you your story. And then I went to school and I passed an exam, and I totally fucked it up. I was the stress and the pressure of the judge, and so I was like, what is going on here? I'm not making music for judge. And the day after I stopped like drums like that. That was crazy. I had a rock band and stuff. I did everything with drums.
How successful? Like, because this sounds pretty serious already. If you're just drumming all the time.
Yeah, but it's hard to be successful as a drummer. So it was just like for me, and my goal was to be a teacher, a drummer teacher, or like as a band. And that's what you do when you're a drummer.
Of course. Well, yeah. And all I really meant there is like, especially as a kid, I feel like you can tie so much of your identity up to like what you do and the activities you're involved in and what you're passionate about. It must have felt crazy as, say, a 16, 17-year-old kid to sort of drop a big part of your identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I said, it was like big part of my life. So yeah, and then the day after, I had no passion and no hobbies anymore because I was so focused on it. And few months after, I went to a rave for the first time in a forest, and I saw a DJ on vinyl for the first time of my life. And I remember like it was yesterday. You see the lights from the Technics MK2, like I don't know if you know what it is.
Oh, I do. Yeah, that's my area.
The red and the green and the red lights. I saw that on vinyl. I was like, what the heck is that? And it was the very first time. I'm talking about before internet and stuff, so It was hard to see things by your own eyes. And I saw that, I was like, okay, here we go.
Do you know who the DJ was?
Not at all. it was the random rave in south of France. No, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't know who it was. But
what kind of music? Do you remember what kind of music?
It was like a techno, like hostile type of rave. The rave culture in France in this period was very, very high. So there's a lot of raves every weekend. And then after this, I did my best to have like the turntables, and I start to scratch. And so yeah, the music was always there, and it was always helped me to grow up and helped me to have a goal in life.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like you were, serious about it from a very young age in one form or another. Was there ever another path you could have taken? Like, was there ever a point where like you were like, well, music's my passion or my hobby, but I got to get serious and do something else? Or was it just music 100% of the way?
I was always music, to be honest. To be honest, school was not my thing, and so I knew music would be my stuff. But now that I'm more comfortable in the music side and comfortable, I'm going to push myself to try to do something else.
Like what? What would you do?
I don't know, like walking out. I don't know, anything. Like just spend some more time with my friends and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you just mean like leaving the studio.
Leaving the studio, leaving this music business anxiety, and just try to have a real life around. Because unfortunately, when you want to win, you have to be focused a lot.
It's true, man. Yeah. And I mean, you've been at this for a long time, obviously, as we're talking about. So around that time, you saw the DJ at the rave, you got turntables, you got obsessed with all that sort of thing. Were there other people around you interested in the same thing? Did you have a group of people you were doing this with, or were you kind of just like the one kid obsessed with this stuff?
There is one stuff I learned from the drums area. It's like taking care of a group, because of a band was very complicated with egos and stuff and behavior. So when I found DJ, I was like, oh, it's just me. That's perfect.
That's what you wanted.
That's what I want. I would only have to take care of myself. But yeah, when I started all the process to find like turntables and learn how to do that, my best friend was also like, was not a DJ, but he was supporting me. And we were like it was funny because I was the only one in the city. And that was just me DJing. It was a small scene.
Yeah. But, well, what kind of early gigs or performances did you have that, either something that went really well or something that went really wrong, that were kind of formative experiences for you as a performer?
At the very beginning?
Yeah. For just like DJs.
At the beginning, first stuff was birthday, but not like wedding birthday. We play like dancehall, hip hop, R&B, and stuff. And then I went to the university in Montpellier, in the south of France. That's my city. And because I came from a smaller city, and I was selling mixtape. I was doing mixtape, and I was selling mixtape to everybody. And I went to the city, went to the university, and then one day I had a call, like after 3 months of school. One guy that I barely know calls me. He was a resident DJ in a club in my city. Said like, "We are electronic club, but now they're looking for like a hip hop DJ. You want to try?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" my first official job. So I went there on a Sunday. I played, was okay. The guy said, the owner was like, "Oh, you want to play on a Monday too?" I said, "Okay." Then I did the Sunday, Monday. "Oh, you want to play on Tuesday?" Then I did Monday, Tuesday. Then it was like 5-6 months. And then after 6 months, the Wednesday was the night of the city. So everybody came on a Wednesday. So I became the local famous guy. That was funny. And from there, like I released more mixtape. I did a radio show, a lot of things. And I went to Paris, tried to make it and stuff. And then one day I was like, yeah, no more hip hop. I'm done with that. And I started to produce. When I was in Paris, I was with Azar. I don't know if you know Point.
Of course, yeah.
Point. They have Alesia before. There was Snake, Chami. We all have studios together in Paris. Mala too. And one day we decided to say, okay, let's try it in America. So I moved with my old manager and Azar. We went to Miami. I stayed 6 months, and I realized Miami back in the day was not very interesting for business as a music on the music. It was more in LA, so we decided to move in LA and meet the managers, the agents, the promoters, and stuff like that, and step by step.
Man, I mean, it's a crazy story. One of the things I was going to ask you was sort of about that move to the U.S., somewhat early before you had like a ton of success, because it's a gamble, obviously, but hearing you talk about the community of it, like you and Chami and Snake and everybody, was that part of why you felt confident to do it at that time?
Kind of, yes. I'm not going to lie. So Snake was living in Miami, Chami and Mala, and we were good friends. So we are, innocent here. We're like, oh, we're going to go there. They're going to push us and they're going to do everything. Yeah. I mean, they're going to help us so much and stuff. But when we went there, we realized they were never here because they were touring like crazy. So we went to the restaurants here and sometimes, but it was not, they couldn't help us like that much because they were so busy, which I understand. And that's why we decided to go to LA to push the project. And but yeah, when I was in Miami, it was it was a low life. Even in LA, when I started in LA, yeah, it was a low life. I had nothing, and it was like you say, it was a gamble. But I was determined and motivated because I tried so many things in France, and I knew I had a radio show back in the day before Dombresky and stuff in a big radio station in Paris and stuff. And I knew what happened. I knew the game. I wanted to experiment something else.
Yeah. Was it the kind of thing where, maybe at first, but when you're younger, it's like getting the radio show, getting to the top of that game looks incredible. And then you kind of get there and you realize, oh, actually there's a ceiling to this. And if I went and did something else, actually it could be a lot higher, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and I'm talking about only France. It's kind of hard to be successful and staying only in France. That's why most of the DJ they left France. Yeah. It's not because France is bad. It's just because it's a small country. You want to tour in America, you can tour for 2 months, almost 3-4 times a week. It's all right. In France, in 2 weeks, you're done.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a little more.
Well, but, I wanted to ask you, honestly, this is interesting because I was thinking about, like we talked about sort of the French culture angle, and I was thinking about, really huge French artists that we look at as legends, Daft Punk, the whole French house sound that I think gets idolized so much in America and in house music in general. What is it like to go back and play now? Like, is the French sound a thing that's championed in France?
No. The French sound is good for exportation for other countries. They are for sure famous in France. But now I would say, if you asked me the same question 5 years ago, I would be like more like negative, pessimist. But now the good things, like there is more festival, for example, in the summer. There is more electronic dance festival. There is more. Also, the south of France became more famous during the COVID. So now there's a lot of parties in Saint-Tropez kind of stuff.
Right.
But I would say most of the clubs in France are more like mainstream clubs. But you have some good clubs. You have some good clubs.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I just never thought about it before, just because for me, it's always been just a fact that French music and French house and the French touch sound and all that is like kind of this upper echelon thing. But I know from, plenty of other people, like one thing I always reference is I had this conversation with Flux Pavilion a long time ago, totally different realm, talking about dubstep, but he was complaining that in the UK, he can't really play dubstep shows in the same way that he can in the US and around the world. And it's just interesting how that happens.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I was surprised about the nightlife in UK too. I was expecting like maybe I went to the wrong place. But I feel the difference between France and America is like the fans, they know what to expect. And all the culture of DJ is more like, it's a business here. Everything is clean, everything bam, bam, bam. The booking are clean. The industry is more like, it's very like clean. In France, it's still like, the manager has to do everything. The DJ has to do like, he has to himself. He has to, it's different level.
Yeah.
In terms of music, no, they don't playing like French house all night in the clubs. No,
right. Yeah,
they don't.
Yeah. No, in some ways, I guess I get it, because maybe that's just, maybe that's like not forward thinking enough because it's already happened. But I don't know. It's interesting, man. I love thinking about this kind of stuff. And I mean, speaking of like the French sound, which I think you've certainly contributed to over the years. Like, how did you mentioned, you started DJing at a certain point, you decide you want to get into dance music. How did you learn production? What was that journey? Because like I was saying earlier, you've always, regardless of like skill level or era, I feel like there's always been a certain perspective that's in all of your music that's really identifiable. And I'm always curious where that comes from as far as like actual production values.
So when I like I mentioned before, when I was in Paris in the studio, the guy from Point, his name is Nicolas. He helps me a lot, and all my life when I want to do something, I'm 200% on it, and that's the way I'm productive. And thank God, this guy Nico is a genius. He's a genius. You heard about Alesia?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy behind it. And this guy was he's still talented, but he helped me a lot at the beginning because it's very hard to learn how to produce.
Oh, yeah.
And now there is more like tutorial on YouTube and stuff, which is cool. But I was just focused. I was focused 100%. I have nothing else to do. So every day I was on Ableton and try to create stuff. Yeah.
Well, so this is a question.
Being focused helped me a lot.
Yeah. Which is great. Having a mentor is a huge leg up. All of that, and friends to do it with and get excited. All of that is huge. And for me, like, if I listen to your whole catalog, early stuff, later stuff, all of that, like, there's a certain timeless quality to a lot of your work. And I wonder, like, if you look at yourself as a producer then and now, what has changed, if anything? Obviously, I'm sure you've learned some new tricks along the way, and engineering and all that gets better. But like, I don't know. This is a broad question. There's no wrong answer. But what differences do you see in yourself as a producer from when you started to now?
Obviously, now I understand more like what is the full songs, what a full song should look like. Because before you mentioned Over Time, my track, but the edit of this track is so bad. I mean, the idea of the track is pretty good. The melodic is but the edit itself is not good. So I learned this. It's going to sound stupid, but I learned how to make like the full songs more harmonic. And also before, my breaks sometimes has no sense with the drop, and now I try to balance both. But yeah, I don't know. And you were mentioning like timeless music. Timeless music is the thing I want to do. That's my thing, and I want to listen of my track like years after and say, oh, that was cool. I can feel nostalgia. I can feel like emotion into my songs, even if it's still house music. But it doesn't have to be like bangers all the time. I like songs. I like songs. I like vocals. And if my goal is to bring emotion into a house record.
Well, and I love that. And so while I was listening to a bunch of your stuff, I wrote down just a couple random ideas that were in my head. So you tell me if any of this resonates with you or if you agree or disagree. But to me, when I was trying to define what ties a lot of this together, is like there's a lot of, not a lot, there's very little clutter. It's like not all the songs are that complicated. It's not like there's a million elements going on, but what's there, everything serves a purpose. And there's this great use of space, even when it's like negative space and there's not a lot going on. Each element felt very purposeful. And that's something that I felt like kind of tied a lot of the eras of your work together. Sorry, my cat is climbing all over me.
I appreciate that. Hello, cat. Yeah, because again, I'm a DJ. I started DJ and I learned how to produce. And most of the famous artists in electronic dance music are producers, and they became DJ because they have a big record, okay? And I was a DJ, and then I learned how to produce. So I'm not pretending I'm a genius producer. I'm just trying to do my best, and I try to use simple things because I'm just not able to do like crazy things. So I try to create good things with simple things. Yeah, and I have a song whose name is Simple Hit, and it's not a joke. But I'm honest. It's Simple Hit is simple, but it works.
Yeah, that was one of the songs I wrote down, kind of talking about this stuff. Even tracks like newer tracks like Too Soon. I listening to that too was interesting because that one to me, it felt like you were maybe playing with some techniques that I didn't hear in some of your music. There's this like little micro edit stuff that kind of sounded like I don't know, maybe like MJ Cole or Matthew Herbert or producers like that. But then sort of in your context, I don't know. It's just interesting, the idea of like still expanding and experimenting and trying new things, but making sure that it's all sort of grounded in the same like ethos or ideals. Does that make sense?
Yeah. For the track you mentioned, Too Soon, for example, is one of the track I try to, switch around because I wanted something to more clubby. But the sample, Aretha Franklin in the middle, is nostalgic because I knew this sample since a long time from Mos Def and like all rap songs. And I had this idea to sample this track since a long time because this sample make me feel nostalgic. And I try to mix nostalgia with a little bit techie house, which is not my big thing.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Yeah, man. I mean, it worked really well. It seems like, I feel like you have just good instincts. Maybe that's what it is. Because a lot of what you're talking about is, you're like, yeah, it's, this is just what made sense. This is what felt right. Like, it seems like you're not overthinking too much in the studio.
Simple music sometimes works the most. And most of the the biggest song. The people who wrote the song will always say, I wrote this song in 10 minutes, and it's a hit because it's simple. And sometimes we need like complex music. We need all type of music, but my type of music, it's simple, emotional. I will stay there.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's
maybe not. We'll see.
Sure. Well, I mean, that makes me think about the times you've collaborated with Noizu, he's been on this podcast too. I really like talking to him, and like those records, it's a bit ravier, maybe a little more aggressive than your solo work. But even that, like you talking about, like I heard this and it made me feel nostalgic, like. The records you've done with Noizu are very nostalgic to me.
That's why collaboration are made for. Collaboration is a good opportunity to try something else. You use the influence from the other artists, so we use our collaboration to create something like I also love this ravey sound, 90s type of sound since always. But collaborating with him was a good thing because it makes sense. And when I come back to my own project by myself, still in my lane.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, have you always seen it this clearly? I guess is like my big question in all of this, because it seems like you really have it figured out as far as how you want to navigate this whole game and what you're here to do and what you have to say. But I mean, were there ever moments of doubt about the path, or moments where, it took a turn you weren't expecting?
There's doubt every day. That's the world we live in. It's doubt every day. Every move, every songs, every shows. Yes, doubt is a part of our life, and that's fine.
How do you deal with it? I mean, is it? I
do my best. I don't know. I don't know. And in terms of music, you talk, right?
Yeah.
Or in terms of...
Well, yeah, in terms of music, in terms of life, I mean, just in general, like, of course, this is a stressful job and everybody gets stressed out, but you strike me as a person who doesn't spin out too much. Like, you don't let it get too far before you can kind of pull it back.
No, I do, but I prefer to, I do, but this is something I prefer to keep for myself because it's not really entertainment. Maybe, and I don't like to show this side of my life. But of course, every artist have doubt for sure. You have to be sensitive to create art.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And yeah, I certainly not trying to pry at all. I really, when I talk about this kind of stuff, I think the bigger question is like, is there anything you've learned about keeping yourself on the right path, about having a good mindset for all of this that maybe a younger person wouldn't know, or any kind of advice for like keeping your head on your shoulders going through this career?
That's I don't know if that makes sense, but I always have this concept in my head since the very, very beginning that I didn't even want my brand to get famous super fast. My goal in my life is to spend every day doing what I like. And if I can grow up slowly but surely, that's what I need. And I don't want to, it's not because I'm not going to be number one Billboard tomorrow that I'm going to be sad. No, I just want to be happy and always grow up slowly but surely. That's my motto.
Yeah.
That's my motto.
That's a good way to look at it.
And it's okay if everything you wanted doesn't come now. It's gonna come if you keep doing what you like and you're doing it in a good way. Sorry, my English is very...
No. I'm right there with you. I know I'm connecting with what you're saying. One thing I talk about a lot on this podcast is everyone's always looking for the secret to success. And when you're young, it feels like there's some secret that you just don't know, that if somebody could just tell you and unlock the key. And that doesn't really exist. And what the real...
It exists. Yeah. Everybody would be a superstar.
Of course.
But what I can say from my experiment at the very beginning, where we're talking about before, when I was in Paris and learning how to produce, I have this little trick that every day I did like 3-4 demos. right? Not a full song, 1 minute demos, and most of the time they were shit. But sometimes you can be surprised and have one good in the week, then another one in the next week. But every day I tried this for like 1 year. I was like doing this every day, and there's no secret. If you work, something's gonna happen.
It's consistency, right? And it's not. This is something I say all the time. Also, it's just not quitting, I think, is the only secret. It's like that's really the only way you can 100% lose is if you stop doing it.
That's a fact. If you stop, we stop.
But, exactly. Yeah, that's.
We're also living right now with all this social media. Like they show you like young people becoming like millionaire at 20 years old and stuff like that. So everybody's losing their mind now. Yeah. I'm not millionaire. I'm 21 years old. It's okay to take your time as soon as you have food, a place to live, and be able to spend times with things that you like. That's the purpose of life.
Yeah.
Because like I said, my life is not about DJing in the weekend. It's like every day. Every day, that's how I choose to spend my life, doing what I like. And that's the happiness of it. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Being intentional about it too. And like checking in. I'm connecting with all of what you're saying, man, because that really is the secret to all of this. Is like being grounded in the present moment and making sure that whatever you're doing it because you want to be doing it and not because of anything else, you know?
Yeah. And every day is important. So pick something you like if you can.
Yeah, of course. And and even if you can't, just try to, steer the ship a little bit towards that, Well, this has been super fun, man. I really appreciate you hopping on and doing this. And I don't want to take up much more of your time. I think the only thing left to really talk about is sort of what you're looking at now in terms of, I know you're always on tour, always dropping new music. Is there anything in particular that you want to let people know about? Anything people should be looking out for? Anything coming up you're excited about?
I'm excited. I'm in the middle of my tour right now. So it's a lift-off tour. We're doing a North American tour. And it's the third week this weekend. And it's pretty amazing. So I'm very happy. And I wanted to thank all the people who came to my show. And if you want to party, have a good time, come to my show. It's cool. I love it. It's the first time I bring like a production, people around me with the screen, like DJs and stuff. That's really exciting for me. And then I'm very excited about like traveling more. I'm going to focus more on Europe in the future. I'm going to release more music this year because we have to. and at the end of the day, let's party together. That's
I love it.
I'm excited to meet you.
I love it. That's what it's all about, man. Yeah, let's party together. It's perfect. And I mean, as this gets crazier, you're on tour. You have to release music, as you say. Are you producing on tour? Are you like separating your life into chunks? How does it work these days?
I had a lot of songs almost done when I was not touring. So now the process is to finish them. But no, producing on tours, nah, not for me. I can't do it.
Yeah,
for me, that's the last thing I want to do. So I'm focusing on my set. It takes a lot of time, checking all the news and because I know I'm going to play. But I cannot open my... some people can do that, not me. I love, when I'm making music, I love to be like comfortable in my studio and like chill out. But on tour, some people produce in the plane, during the flight.
Yeah, I can't do it, man. I'm the same.
I can't do that. Respect, shout out to them. But yeah, I have a new song next week though. Next week with Jeded.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So they're on tour with me. That's really exciting, and it's a part of the EP we signed on Higher Ground, and it's going next week. So I'm very excited about that too.
Oh, that's great. Oh yeah, and I didn't even. I meant to ask you about like Process Records and all that as well, just in terms of talking about bringing artists with you and working with them and all that. Is the label still also popping off?
Of course,
Yeah.
I released my Lift Off. The track Lift Off is on my label.
Right.
For now, I'm using the label for me when I don't want to wait labels, like answer from labels, and I just want to release songs like that because I feel it, because it's a moment, and I don't want to. Yeah, I just want to. I like to do stuff by my own. I love that. I like to control the music I do, everything I do, the most I can. But after this tour, after other things, the next focus will be to make this label more official and start to sign young, amazing artists and make it more like official. Yeah, because it's not really official. I don't really push it.
Right.
I know why, because I want to do it in a proper way, and I think like creating a label takes time if you want to do it in a good way. And that was definitely one of my goals.
It's a full-time job, man. Labels are hard, so I think you're right on with that too. All right, so final question. This is the last thing. Just a quick question that I ask at the end of some of these interviews. This is kind of like a random access memory kind of thing. Just looking for a memory from your life, a moment from your life. It could be from any time. It could be yesterday. It could be when you're a kid. Anytime when in that moment, in that memory, music really, really hit you deeply. And that's meant to be a super broad thing. It could be something like you saw a concert and you still think about it sometimes, or you heard a song on the radio that meant something to you in that moment. Or it could be even something from, you went on tour and you saw something while you were playing a show that you still think about. It doesn't have to be a crazy story, just the first thing that pops into your head.
I don't have a specific songs right now, but what I like, what you describe is like because thank God it's happening again and again, this surprise, because if it was just one time, I mean, maybe I have a plan. But what I like today is like when I hear a song and I'm like, okay, that's the hit. That's my thing. So once a year, maybe I remember the Piggy Goo one recently, the no. I don't remember.
Wait, who? What artist?
Piggy Goo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's just called Na, right?
Yeah. I even made an edit on song, whatever. When I heard this song, I was like, oh, wow, that's a hit. And so these feelings are, so there is no end for that. And I hope there will not be end for that. So the last time I was surprised was, for example, this song. I was like, and I like to just bet on it and say, oh, that's a hit. That's a hit of the summer.
That's fun, man. Because that's a feeling that I think anyone can relate to. And it's a feeling that goes back to childhood even. Like I remember the first songs I heard that really like made my hair stand on end kind of thing. And you're right. I think this is the last final thought. As we get older, it's harder to feel like excited like that. It's like we've had many more experiences. There's less surprise in the world. But you're right. Music's this infinite well that can always give you those moments. And man, what a great thought.
Yeah. That's it's never ending. There's no ending in the music, even on the production side.
Right.
You cannot be perfect. You will never be perfect.
Yeah. And you can give yourself those moments. I mean, that's a crazy thing too, right? Like you yourself can make something that gives you that same hair standing on end feeling. And then it's like, well, totally. who even made that?
That's magic.
Yeah.
We call that magic. Yeah.
Well, hey, man, magic, I think is a great note to end it on. But dude, thank you for the time, man. I hope you had a good time. This was a great chat.
Yes, I had a good time. Thank you. Absolutely. That was interesting.
Good. I'm glad, man. Well, this has been great. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, man.
Bye-bye.